Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to the first MediaTek Business Forum. My name is Bryan Ekus, and I am the president of Colonial Purchasing, and I am also the co-founder of Making Vinyl. What's interesting about the MediaTek Business Forum is that this is a new concept, actually coming from an older idea. The older idea was that there was once the MediaTek Association, which I was actually a part of founding back in 2001. And the idea for that was just really a platform that represented all forms of physical media. And sadly, the MediaTek Association decided that they were going to fold things in at the end of November of 2019, pre-COVID. But since then, there's been, we'll say, a lot of people that have actually asked that, it would be great if we could have some way of continuing to communicate with each other about physical media and take away, we'll say, the latest market information, have an opportunity to network again. So myself and Bernard Krauser, who was a long time, we'll say, colleague of ours in the MediaTek organization, along with his son, Andre Kraus. Maybe both of you can just pop on the screen for a second, just so that people can remember who you guys are. We've decided that we wanted to bring this back together again and really bring this together as, we'll say, a community where people can have the opportunity to talk about what's happening in the industry. So with that being said, what I wanted to do is just talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing as far as a community in the business forum. And you could see here, we have the idea of doing this on a monthly basis with monthly webinars. Our next webinar will be on the 29th of July at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's a little bit later than what we're doing today, but we want to make sure that we're doing this on a global opportunity where people can, we'll say, watch this from all over the world. What we're also planning to do together is the next Making Vinyl. Making Vinyl this year will be held again virtually. We're doing it together, we'll say, with a new component, which is called Making Vinyl DJ. This virtual event will be held November 3rd through the 6th. So we're actually going to be doing 2 days of 1.5 day of Making Vinyl and 1.5 day of Making Vinyl DJ. More information about what will be happening with this particular event will be coming out soon. But if you're interested to be a speaker or a sponsor, feel free to reach out to any of us within the Making Vinyl team. And I know Larry right now is already starting to work on the program. So that's great news. Following that, and if the world continues, we'll say, to come together, we'll say, in this health emergency, what we're looking then to do is do the Making Vinyl and the second physical media world. For those people that were with us in Berlin back in 2019, we did 1 day of physical media world, which was organized back then by the MediaTek Association, and there will be 1 day of Making Vinyl. So look forward to seeing you there. Then the plan is to come back to the United States to do a live event in the fall of 2022. So lots of great things going to be taking place. And if you follow us on social media, of course, and if you follow us on, we'll say, makingvinyl.com or media-tech.org, you'll be able to get all of the latest information. With that all being said, I'd like to now introduce our first speaker. We're Alex Jornod. He's the lead market analyst of music and audio at Futuresource Consulting. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to Alex now. And thanks very much for joining us, Alex. And if all is going well, you can go ahead and share your screen and I'll turn my camera off so people don't see me.
Great, thanks a lot. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I'm Alex Jornod. I'm the lead analyst for the music and audio markets at Futuresource Consulting. To give you a quick background on Futuresource, we are a market research and consulting firm based in the UK, and we are specialized in the technology and entertainment industries. So today I'm going to give you an update on the current state of the music market. And of course, I will be particularly focusing on the vinyl market, as I know that's what you are interested in. So I wanted to firstly start with an overview of the recorded music market, and looking really back at 2020, but also at our expectations for 2021 for the global market. And so if we look at 2020, obviously during the first half of 2020, everyone was really panicking and worried about what would happen for the next few months. But actually, when we look at really the performance of the market, it hasn't been as bad as we could have expected. Consumer spend on recorded music grew 12% to $27.6 billion. And really, the two key drivers of this performance were the acceleration of streaming adoption globally, but also, and more interestingly for you guys, the jump in vinyl sales, during lockdown and during 2020. To give you some context, consumer spend on streaming grew 23% to $22.2 billion, and for vinyl it grew 19% to $1.3 billion. One recurring trend we've been seeing over the past few years is really downloads and CDs declining, and that's really expected to continue in the next few years. But when we look at 2020, in 2021, we already know that, at least for the first half of it, there were fairly similar conditions than in 2020, in terms of people spending more time at home, not going on holiday, having a bit more disposable income. And for the second half of it, we are seeing, the world starting to open up a bit, people being able to get back to stores. So we expect that there will be more people going back to record stores to really, as well support these businesses that are currently at risk. On top of that, we've seen that businesses have adapted to this new situation, especially for vinyl and record stores. Since, the second half of 2020, they have put really systems in place to be able to meet the demand for vinyl, with online stores and deliveries and so on. And in a way, the pandemic has been a great opportunity for record stores to really develop their online business. And because of that, we expect that vinyl sales are going to continue to grow, plus 11% in 2021 to $1.4 billion. And longer term, we expect consumer spend on vinyl to settle, just below the $2 billion mark, within the next few years. So if we look at the performance for 2020 on the market level and make a comparison between CD and vinyl, we see that there is quite a huge difference. CD really collapsed during lockdown as consumers, couldn't go to stores and would listen to music on streaming services instead. So the global retail value dropped 26% in 2020. But on the other hand, when we look at vinyl, we've seen a surge in consumption in most markets, with, as I mentioned, a global growth in terms of retail value of 19%. And vinyl really helped softening the decline of packaged music in 2020. And we've actually seen vinyl adoption growing in many markets. The more established vinyl markets like the US, UK, or Germany have seen like over 20% growth in 2020. And even markets like Spain and Italy are really strong, seeing strong levels of growth for vinyl, which was not really the case before. So we are seeing more markets getting some interest for vinyl. In the US, vinyl consumer spend actually overtook CDs by quite a margin, nearly double. And in the UK, we expect this to happen this year, where the retail value of vinyl is going to overtake CDs. Now, if we look at our forecast for the next few years, by the way, firstly, before really looking at the future, I think it's important to understand what has been driving this growth in 2020. People spending so much more time at home, working from home, and wanting to make their life a bit more comfortable, and enjoyable, has actually created quite a strong appeal for vinyl, because to really create, a nice atmosphere at home, and also the ritual that comes with it, that is like, so enjoyed by so many people, and the fact that people had more disposable income. They were not going to restaurants, they were not going on holiday, so they had more money to spend. And they've actually spent a lot on home audio devices. We've seen a surge in turntable sales, and actually including very high-end ones. When we look at the market, the 5,000 plus category has had a record year in 2020, with consumer spend growing 15%. Because again, consumers have been using the lockdown as an opportunity to buy their dream hi-fi setup. So it has been very positive in that sense. They've also spent much more on vinyl, because they again have had more money available. They had a new system, so they have invested as well in that. And the final thing is also the fact that record stores have been adapting to this new situation. Yes, it has been very challenging because of the retail element, but online channels have also helped to be able to keep up with the demand of people, that were buying vinyl while being at home. Now, if we look at the future and our forecast, we could see, two ways: either a worst case scenario where it was just a lockdown trend, but we don't really believe in that, because over the past few years there has been quite significant levels of growth. So we believe that 2020 has been more of an acceleration of a trend than really just a temporary trend. And so the scenario that we are favoring is basically that really lockdown has highlighted the value of vinyl, that has introduced more people to vinyl, and that now that more people have turntables and have a nice audio setup, that they will continue to buy vinyl as they enjoyed it so much, during lockdown. And we expect as a result that within the next 3 to 5 years after COVID, consumer spend is still going to grow. Growth might progressively slow down, but still maintain healthy levels. Also because the core vinyl buyers, they are not going away. They are still expected to continue to buy vinyls. And also vinyl will remain a key format for album releases, and a great way to engage with fans as well. The more challenging element regarding vinyl and the future is regarding the retail crisis. As you all know, COVID had a very disruptive impact on retail, and we expect that the landscape is going to experience, quite some drastic changes in the next few years after COVID. On the wider landscape across Europe, we are seeing, high street retailers closing stores, and music stores are no exception. In the UK, HMV has already closed 3 stores, with 10 additional stores potentially set to close. Media Market as well plans on closing 14 stores in Europe. And in the UK in 2020, there has been a decline of 48% of brick and mortar sales. So yes, 2021 is expected to be better, but it's not going to be like pre-COVID levels. And also the challenge that in non-specialist retail stores, we are also saying that the space allocated to physical music is declining. In supermarkets, for example, there is nearly no space allocated for music anymore. And for independent stores, record stores, it has been a difficult year, because even when they could open, they had to respect social distancing with limited capacity. But online sales have been really a key way for these stores to survive. And also, events like record store days or the equivalent in Europe have really helped as well to drive, continue to drive sales. Longer term, with people working from home, and also people moving away from city centers because they are, they want to live in bigger homes, footfall is likely to remain impacted after COVID. So that's really the area with the most uncertainty related to packaged music. But on the brighter side, there is also an opportunity for independent record stores to create a community, around vinyl. So vinyl can be used as a catalyst, to drive and develop communities, in the post-COVID world. The last thing I wanted to discuss is regarding streaming, because the market has seen quite significant changes in recent months, and overall as well, we believe that streaming actually helps the vinyl market. Firstly, let's talk about HD streaming, because it has been on the table for so long. And finally, it's actually happening. It has been happening in 2019, but Apple Music launching their lossless streaming at no extra cost is really disrupting the market, because historically, one of the main barriers of adoption of HD streaming was the price. So Apple is removing that barrier, and now that Apple is doing it, of course, Amazon had to follow. So the big question remains for Spotify if they are going to follow or not. But the situation is that it went from a niche of maybe under 3 million people to now over 100 million people now being able to access lossless audio. So it doesn't mean that they will listen to lossless audio, but at least they can, and that's a huge difference. So it's driving, this shift to higher audio quality, and we expect that it's also going to incentivize people to invest in better audio systems. We've seen it in lockdown, and we expect it's going to continue. And if people are more aware of quality and sound, it could also introduce more people to vinyl listening, or at least ease the way to vinyl adoption. One thing to keep in mind related to that is that when people are buying audio products, they need, especially related to vinyl, they need to make sure that they have products that can be used with a turntable. And we are actually seeing some products that are really bridging the gap between mass market wireless speakers and more traditional hi-fi, like the Koch LS50 wireless speakers that are offering, wireless connectivity, but in a more traditional hi-fi package. So they are offering the best of both worlds and making it easy for consumers to actually have a hi-fi system that they can use with a turntable. So that's really, more on the audio hardware side. But if we get back to streaming, the other thing we are saying is that streaming is used as a way for consumers to discover more artists, but also to listen and engage with more music. So once they have identified albums that they really love, it is easier to buy it in vinyl, and in a way, services like, streaming services are really the biggest record stores where people can browse as much as they want, listen to as many albums that they want before actually buying them in vinyl. So we can imagine that, streaming is the more like daily consumption, convenience. You can listen to as much music as you want. But when people want some quality time and a good experience, they could, they would listen to vinyl because, they also love the ritual that comes with it. It creates a special atmosphere. And finally, we are also seeing streaming services even promoting vinyl directly on their platform. For example, Spotify and Merchbar, where artists can promote their vinyl directly on their artist page. And again, driving sales and adoption of vinyl amongst, audiences who might not have bought vinyl in the first place. So in that case, vinyl is really used as a medium for engagement between artists and fans. So I see I'm running out of time. So really, I think it's fair to say we are in a great place at the moment for the vinyl market in terms of, the consumers, the interest from consumers. And what was called really a vinyl resurgence is now quite at a mature stage, an established stage. And there is still some room for growth. So really, it's definitely an exciting time for vinyl, and people seem to really engage and love vinyl more than ever. Thank you. I don't know.
Alex, thank you. Thank you very much for a great presentation. Your audio is a little bit low. I didn't want to stop you. I don't know if there's a way that you can make it a little bit louder, because we do have a couple of questions from the audience.
Is it better now?
No, not really, but maybe you could just shout a little bit more. Hey, I'll try asking the questions, and we can maybe fix the audio also on the replay. But one of the first questions that came in from Brent Stevens was asking, with the jump in vinyl sales, are we also seeing a jump in manufacturing capacity? Are you seeing more pressing plants that are coming online?
I know that has been a challenge in terms of the supply. Also because there's been some disruption last year with the fire of the Apollo and all of that. So there has been some challenges. So yeah, that's, I think, one of the main areas is to be able to keep up with the demand and be able to press enough vinyls for the next few years. But in terms of demand, there is definitely some opportunities for consumers.
Yeah, and I can also interject here a little bit too. I do know that many of the pressing plants around the world, and the last count that I had, there was close to 100 pressing plants now, which is quite amazing to think about. When you go back about 10 years ago, there was probably less than 20. But what's interesting to see as well as talking with the machine manufacturers is that they're having, we'll say, difficulties to try to keep up with the demand. So the demand for new machines could be just as long as making a baby, more than 9 months, which is a long time to wait when you're in a very hot market. I had one other question to ask you too, is that, are you seeing the behavior of the vinyl buyer, will say, change also? Is there some type of evolution that's taking place with them?
Yeah, actually, it has been happening over the past few years where we have been seeing, younger demographics getting an interest for vinyl, firstly as a collectible item, as a way to engage with their favorite artists. They would be at a concert and buy a vinyl, as a memory. But now we are seeing that these consumers are also investing in turntables and buying this kind of, these physical formats, because they love, again, the ritual, and it's new for them. They didn't grow up with vinyl. But when we have consumer research and we look at really like the engagement in terms of vinyl, and the core audience remain millennials, that are really engaging the most and buying the most vinyl. Because older demographics, yes, listen to vinyl, but often they have already established collections. So the ones that are really building this collection and maintaining it are mainly the millennials.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's great, Alex. I appreciate you being with us today. Also, special thanks to Nicola and Finn and David Bottom at Futuresource for also making this happen. Look forward to working with you in more capacities in the future. So if you'd like to stick around for the panel session, you're more than welcome to do so as well. And what I'd like to do is invite our other panelists to join us now, because we do have to stop at 6 o'clock, because I was told that if we don't, I would get in trouble because of Germany and England playing football this evening at 6 o'clock. So if you folks want to turn on your cameras and then come on in. There we go. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time out, especially on this exciting day before the football match. But what I figured what we could do here is just to kind of go around and allow you guys to introduce yourself, what company that you're working for, and kind of maybe give a little bit of a feel of what you're seeing now and what we could maybe expect for the future. So I'd like to start with ladies first, and Nika, you're in the top right hand of my screen right now, so I'll allow you to go first.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nika Koch. I work in international or global operations at Sony Music. What am I seeing? It's been an exciting year and a half. It's certainly shown us that this industry is very resilient, because everyone seemed to have thought vinyl was plateauing or regressing again, but it's looking to go the other way. So now it's all about managing the supply chain from end to end, basically, and that's not been particularly easy, but we like a challenge.
That's great, Nika. Thank you. And Karen?
Hi, yeah, I'm Karen Emanuel. I'm the founder of Key Production. So we've been brokering the manufacturing of vinyl since 1990, and myself a couple of years before that with Rough Trade Distribution. So I've been in the game for quite some time. I guess at the moment, I've kind of almost never seen anything like it. I think we're probably at the levels of manufacturing that I saw back in the 90s, but without the capacity to make the numbers. So yes, it has been very challenging, I guess, challenging in a very good way, because, how many other businesses can say that they're going through this incredible boom time? We've also been speaking to the factories about their demands on the supply chain of getting new machines in, and so on. We've seen, speaking to some distributors, that they're having to actually look at a whole different way of release scheduling. And now, rather than doing the marketing first and getting something ready for release, they have to get their assets in first, work out when you can actually see the supply, and then put all the marketing sort of behind that, and maybe look at the touring in slightly a different way. Please God, that comes back soon. So yeah, it's definitely, I think people are having to think of different ways of how they're going to go through to the manufacturing. Interestingly as well, we touched on CD there. Whilst the value I know of vinyl is above CDs, we're still seeing sensible amounts of numbers of CDs, and sometimes just get a bit annoyed that some people in the industry, obviously no one here, has almost been trying to make them die. But we deal with a hell of a lot of labels that are still sort of really big in the CD market. And then obviously the bespoke packaging as well, we're seeing sort of very strong. We're seeing not just more people releasing vinyl, but the numbers that people releasing are going up, and the numbers of reorders that we're seeing are going up as well. So yeah, challenging times ahead, but still loving it.
That's terrific. And welcome, Sven.
Hi, Bryan. Yeah, if I take it over from there, I'm representing Sonopress, but not to forget also other companies within the Bertelsmann group. And this is also reflected to Topak, and maybe this is a good bridge also talking from vinyl, LP, and to CD. Maybe a couple of words on Sonopress as we see the actual situation on the market. It's a very interesting year, a good year. And maybe the first comment came to my mind from the presentation, when it was mentioned that this a positive connection of streaming music to vinyl sales. And I could extend this chain and include also the positive influence to the number of sales of CDs. So just what Karen meant there. When we compare the numbers from this year, first half, was last year at Sonopress, for example, we see almost stable volumes. It's 2% up. So when has this happened in the last 10 years or so? I can hardly remember this. So this is a fantastic influence of the physical business. And so please don't forget the CD in this whole context. And to bridge it over to Topak, Topak is our sister company printing vinyl sleeves since 35 years in the market for Europe, mainly for Europe, but also exporting now to the US and other markets. And we see a tremendous demand for vinyl sleeves at Topak. As never before, this is booked for weeks, and it's hard even to place orders for the CD-based products like slipcases or special DGs or so. Now Topak is fully filled and packed and loaded with orders online. So this is fantastic. It's a fantastic time of this business right now, Bryan.
That's amazing. And so how long will it be before Sonopress gets into pressing vinyl again? I know that you were doing that a long time ago, but I'm sure it would be a great opportunity. You're already printing the sleeves.
It's easy to answer this. So it's not on our agenda, honestly. So we tried, as some of you might know, and finally when we made one of the old lines that we have in our museum, we made this ready as a fully automated line. And we felt that this was a very interesting project, but then decided to step on the 4K UHD replication on the optical format. And this is where our place is in this market. And there are many other companies doing a fantastic job in vinyl pressing, but it won't be Sonopress. We've done this in decades before, but no, this is up for other companies.
Okay, all right. I was trying to get the first scoop. I appreciate that. And Justin, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bryan. So my name is Justin Kristal. I'm the president of CopyCats Media out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. CopyCats is with the ADS group. We came on board years ago. We basically started off working with independent musicians, and they acquired us years back, and we're under that family now. So I mean, talking about the industry, like people want stuff. Like It's really awesome to hear you guys also talk about, CDs. Like, we're a CD manufacturer. People still want CDs, even though people think that they're dead. I've been having people tell me for 7 years that they're dead, but they're far from dead. We've seen a huge, during the pandemic too, we deal with a lot of larger labels, but we also deal with a lot of independent musicians, and we deal with a lot of, smaller labels. And some of this product for CD, they saw direct to consumer, they saw such an increase. They couldn't tour, they couldn't pay their mortgage. They had such an increase in sales direct to consumer just with CDs as well as vinyl, and figuring out creative ways to, package something up and sell it to the fans that go to shows and support them. So it's been a crazy year, and I can't believe how busy we were during the pandemic, which is super nuts. And just seeing, different formats come back. I mean, I have people asking about cassettes all the time. I just did a VHS the other 2 months ago, and I think they pre-ordered, the person that I did it, they sold 500 in the first day, and I didn't even know that there are 500 VCRs out there that people owned. So I mean, there's just, people want stuff, CDs, vinyl, VHS, I mean everything, cassettes. So it's exciting.
That's good. Yeah, I kind of knew about the VHS because I had people contacting me looking for the videotape. I'm not sure if it's being manufactured anymore, but there was a lot of people scrambling to try to find out where they can actually purchase that from. And kind of touching on the CD aspect of things, I work with Colonial Purchasing Co-op. We're a cooperative of companies that purchase raw materials for CD and DVD. And we're still acquiring a lot of plastic. Of course, the numbers have gone down, we'll say, over the years, but it's still a huge amount of polycarbonate that is the basis for a CD that we procure. And we had some enormous challenges, we'll say, in the last 12 to 18 months. A lot of that was because we couldn't actually get the material supply that we needed due to the fact that there was a planned maintenance at one of the larger, we'll say, polycarbonate plastic facilities that took longer than expected. Of course, then we had the impact of COVID that disrupted supply chains. The price of, we'll say, moving freight from Asia to try to fill the gap from domestic producers increased by 10 times. So within all of this, we've still been, we'll say, finding and managing a way to support CD. I don't know where I can go necessarily and buy a CD DVD player these days. It's not that easy as what it was, but there's definitely still a lot being produced. So it's glad to see it. And that's a lot of what we want to continue to highlight within this business forum is that there are more than one format that's available. And I guess I want to kind of slip back to you, Karen, just for a second here, is that, we're seeing that a lot of orders now that are going through, we'll say, are becoming more complex, more box sets that are being created. We're seeing more colors that are being asked and requested for as well. I think the last figure that I heard Sean Rukowski from Independent Pressing stating is that in 2019, he was doing something like 60% black, 40% color. That's now shifted to a 50-50 split in 2021. Catalog shifting also, but I've understood though too that when you switch between colors, it causes more time to have things produced. I think Henry Ford once said it the best, you can have any color that you want as long as it's black. Should we be pushing people to go back to black to start increasing production? Or is it really coming down to something that we need to see this unique, very specialized market? I'd love to have your thoughts on that.
Well, I think, as Justin said, people really love stuff and they really like unusual stuff and the types of effects that you can get with colored vinyl. I mean, look, if you just look at behind Nikkei, you can see some of the effects. Here's some I prepared earlier. And people really do like that. And it's a great sales tool. It's a great collector's item. There is a supply problem at the moment with colored vinyl, though. The plants that don't actually sort of make their own colors are having a real problem getting the actual material in. And I know sort of one of the main pressing plants has stopped pressing color for a few months so they can get some stock in. We've had to sort of go around and see if we can persuade some customers to either wait an extra few months on top of their already very long lead times, or to go back to black instead. Having said that, there's also a black, so there's a worldwide PVC shortage, partly caused by the really bad weather in Texas and the oil fields last year. So there's an awful lot of, I mean, it's, you know, it's really challenging at the moment. There's a lot of supply chain problems, but yeah, we will all work through it. As to should we persuade people to do black instead of color? Hell, I love, the look of the colored records is absolutely fantastic. Speak to people about the quality and you'll get people saying that the black does sound or sort of milky clear are the kind of like the best sounding of vinyl. And certainly some of the processes used to make some of the colored effects like splattered vinyl can cause a reduction in sound quality. How many people that aren't total audiophiles will actually hear that, and will it make them ruin their enjoyment of it when they actually have something really beautiful to look at? We could talk about that for hours. Everyone's got a different opinion, I think. Oh yeah, for sure. And black is a color, right? So it is that we're adding in additives to make it black. So one would argue that being black could actually, we'll say, sound worse than clear. Well, some say that the sort of carbon compounds that are in black actually help the needle glide over the record a bit better. So yeah, I mean, as I say, I've had conversations like this for years. Does heavier sound better than not heavy? Again, I think if you blindfold tested a 180 gram and a 140 gram, would anybody really be able to tell? I think there's a perception of more quality in the 180. But then a lot of people are thinking about sustainability and the cost of shipping and things like that, and actually choosing 140 over 180 at the moment. I could go on. I won't. No, that's fine.
Bryan, to chime in on that, you know, like the color, doing the color vinyl isn't the issue. It's all of the different quantities of a color. Like you could do 5,000 records, but then when you say, great, I'm doing 5,000 records, but I need 14 different colors out of that 5,000, that's where really everything is getting slowed down, and it's becoming extremely difficult for plants to get caught up. I deal with that all the time where, great, you're going to do this many, and now I need 150 of this color for this exclusive and 100 for this. I mean, it slows down the industry a lot. And I mean, you bring up Sean, I talk to Sean multiple times a week. So, and it's, you know, it's everywhere. It gets tough. So I don't think it's just the color. It's just all the different quantities of those colors and different specialty effects that people want.
Well, it's each time you change the machine, you have to like clean down the whole of the machine, and you have to sort of put out a lot of sort of dud vinyl, as it were, to clean it down, and then start all over again, and then clear it through the next time. So of course it's gonna take
hours a day, just to clean. So anyway.
No, that's why I was saying, you know, if it was that restricted to try to get into a situation where we can try to catch up, would it be better just to produce one color? But of course, you know, if I was an artist and my band was very, we'll say, passionate about a red color, I would want my vinyl to be in red. Right. There's no question of that. And Nika, you know, these lead times must be really playing havoc for you in trying to schedule, we'll say, your new releases. And of course, what's going on with the back catalog stuff as well. Where do you make the priorities, and how are you planning through all of this?
Oh, that is a difficult question. We only have 20 minutes left. It takes a lot of juggling, basically. You have to somehow prioritize, but every artist obviously thinks their product is the more important. Every country feels their stuff is more important than other countries. It's a nightmare. And it's come to a point where you have to tell people you cannot do this now. You have to move your release a few months into the future because something else has to take priority now. You're not making friends by being in the industry right now or in supply chain right now. But you have to be brutal in those cases. And to the colors, just to add to that as well, yes, that it's getting more and more. I'm not even sure 50-50 is correct, to be honest. I would say color is slightly edging ahead now. Because as Justin said, and this is going to be the quote of the day, people want stuff. If you have a number of color versions available, they will buy a number of versions of the product. So, it's exciting to do colors.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit less boring, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't think the people who buy multiple versions of the same product think about the audiophile aspect of the whole thing either. If they do, they listen to the black one, and they have the color ones, to look at or to display or whatever people do with them these days. So.
That's always say this conversation piece is I always like to leave a colored vinyl on my turntable when friends come over, because they normally just gravitated to it, and we could then talk about it for hours. And of course, I like getting into all the technical manufacturing aspects of it. Then they get bored, but then usually we cover that problem up with alcohol and we continue from there. I can understand. I think Andre is saying that we have a question from the audience that he wanted to bring in. Andre, do you want to help me with that?
We have no one so far that wants to come up on stage. Everyone's very shy, but we have some questions coming in the chat. So maybe Bryan, have a look in the chat if you can see it. Someone is asking, oh, actually it's my dad. He's asking a question there. What could the CD do to get an image of the vinyl? That's one. And yeah, someone is actually commenting. There was Connie. She was saying that she thinks that the lead times add to the value and mystique of the vinyl, which is also a very interesting comment. Let's see, what else do we have? Larry is there. Question for Larry, for Alex. Looking ahead to 2025, your numbers suggest that demand will lessen. Are you suggesting the amazing growth of recent years made this comeback a fade? Isn't the recent younger demographic also helping to grow the market?
We still believe that there will be some growth happening in the market, but obviously the levels of growth we've seen right now are quite strong, so we expect that it's going to decrease progressively, but still with some healthy levels, So 2025 is, I think it was 2% or something like that. So we still expect some growth, but not to the levels we've seen, in 2020 when there has been such a huge acceleration. So that's why there is this trend.
Mary said thanks on that. And maybe what I want to do is, Sven, I want to touch a little bit also back on CD, DVD. And you mentioned also that you made the decision to not invest in vinyl manufacturing, but instead to invest in Ultra HD Blu-ray. Now, do you see, we'll say, potentially this as being, as what maybe even Alex was saying before, of connecting the Blu-ray and the vinyl together as being two types of experimental or experiences that might be able to, we'll say, encourage people to be drawn more towards physical media?
That's a great idea. Though I'm a bit skeptical that all the innovation that we put on the table as well in these sorts, and here's a 4K format, there's a new combination of formats, will come to fruition in the end of the day. In most of the cases, it's about here's a project, and this is a media, is it movie, is it music, and what can we do best of this? And there was one question in the audience I just saw, could the CD get into the image of a vinyl? And Connie pointed out it's fantastic. This is the mystic behind lead times, everything with the vinyl, which is fantastic. But let me say that the CD is making advantage of this, because first the lead times. Everybody from vinyl, from the music industry is used to lead times of, what is it, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, even longer. And so this does in return mean that the master music is available at a much earlier point in time. So when I look back to the typical strong years in CD, there was always the pressure, last minute content, replicating, get it out within 5 days, printing included. And so now with the longer lead times, it puts also the CD in a much better position, that we can plan for much longer plans, marketing campaigns, what is the right product. So this puts the CD in a quite good position. And to the question, what could be done to make it even more attractive? One of the big advantages of vinyl is, of course, the size. This is big square with all the illustrative opportunities. And the CD is a bit smaller, but we see a lot of interesting packaging. So I guess one of the keywords here is make use of the formats, as you mentioned, Bryan, but then also bring on a lot of packaging components, interesting components, which are used at the vinyl area right now. And this can really make a fantastic physical product, which gives value. And maybe also a comment, with all the shortage of raw materials, which is 100% applicable to polycarbonate at CDs as well, but not only limited to polycarbonate. It's about lacquers, inks, all the components, even foil, cellofoil, everything is getting up in prices. And the reasons are various. But this leads to the situation that now everybody is getting used, that prices go up. And this does not have to be necessarily only a bad thing, because this also puts value to our product. And instead of the last decades were always the focus of price getting down, and everybody was discussing the last pennies to get out of the product squeeze. But now we're talking there's value. And even if the polycarbonate leads to a price increase of a couple of cents in the end of the day, it's about availability. Do we have the material? And what if the material is not there? The product cannot be launched in the retail. And so therefore, I think the discussion has changed, and it puts value at the end of the day to our products, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know that we'll say prices of the raw materials, of course, have gone up substantially. And how have your customers reacted, though, to the increases that you're incurring? Are your customers, we'll say, accepting that? Because we never see that, we'll say, in the physical media industry of, we'll say, charging more for a product that would be something that we were always trying to sell for less. Are they actually now, we'll say, recognizing, as you were mentioning before, that there is the availability of this, there is a shorter time to market, that they can pay for now a premium?
There's not one answer, the right one. So we see from one extreme to the other extreme. Let's say in the best case, there was one client, and he returned with email and said, "Thank you, noted, put on the new prices from 1st of July, all good." Or 1st of April, looking in hindsight. So this is one extreme. The other extreme could be like, "No, we cannot do this. We have contract, we have obligations here and there," and they say totally no, and we are in weekly discussions with them. So this is a very difficult thing. But I think once you come to the point, and that's about, do we have access to the material, and are the machines in full supply of raw material, then you come to the real beef, and then everybody is accepting a lot of very flexible models. We see even some clients asking for, can we buy the material on ourselves, that this is allocated to our projects. So this goes to all the extremes and bring up very interesting models also in parallel.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead, Karen.
I was going to say, if I could jump in, because I guess I'm on both sides of the coin there, because I'm a client to the factories, and then I have clients that buy off me. Similar things. I will be that one person that always tries to argue the price, because that's my job. But I think, you know, there is a worldwide shortage. I mean, you know, it's all over the news. We know that that's happening. We know that there's got to be shifts, and people do have to pay more. And we try to do our very best to explain to all of our clients that this is how it is. You know, this is the way of the world. Yeah, we can't actually, much as I'd love to do something about it, I can't do anything about it, and we just have to accept that there are these rises. I mean, we've had to go to the point of actually saying, it's like, yeah, well, we can give you a quote now, but because the lead times are so long, we can't guarantee that when you get your product, that price is going to be that price. And what we can do is we'll then re-quote you when we're sure of on the scheduling, and then be more sure about the price, which is, I mean, it's killer to work like that as a business. It goes against everything I've ever sort of done before. But that's what the world's like at the moment. And that's, you know, and we do just have to, you know, I've been going around sort of saying, you know, I personally, as the CEO, will go around and say and tell my customers exactly what the state is everywhere. I mean, you know, we deal with about 9 or 10 different vinyl plants, so you know, I've got a very good idea of what's going on, and you know, it is as it is, and we just have to go with it, and hopefully, and it doesn't seem to be at the moment, but hopefully, it won't stop the affordability of some of like the smaller and individual artists from manufacturing. I think that's always the worry that I have in the back of my mind, that at some point it might just get too expensive for them to actually do it. So, but I guess we shall see. I keep saying to them, if you can't get your vinyl done on time, do CDs. How about a cassette?
Good point.
To add on to that, I think that just people in the world, even outside of what we're doing, is seeing it everywhere, from, you know, lumber costs to just, you know, anything else that they're dealing with. So now it's like they're expecting it. I mean, that's what I've been experiencing. And if someone's doing CDs, what's a few cents to compared to what PVC went up not too long ago, where that is a drastic increase. So everyone that we've talked to is kind of was waiting for it, if not expecting it. So, I mean, it's just the whole world. Everything's going up. I'm waiting for, I don't want to, but I'm waiting for the next thing just to, you know, get an increase just to see what happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's terribly crazy. And within Colonial, we're always trying to work with our suppliers to, you know, try to increase the capacity. And like in polycarbonate right now, they're basically, as soon as there is no inventory anymore. It used to be that everybody was ordering in just in time, so that you had materials coming in, you could schedule it, and you could use it. Now what I'm seeing quite often is that we're in a just in case supply chain. I'm going to get this, I'm going to get more of it, and I'm going to just make sure that I've got plenty of it. Kind of like what we saw happen with toilet paper during the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody just started hoarding material, and I see that a lot of that going on right now. But we need to keep those supply chains fluid, and they need to continue to stay open. Sadly, though, I think we're kind of running short on time because we're getting close to kickoff just in a few minutes here. So what I'd like to do is just ask each one of you to give a closing statement, and we'll kind of wrap it up from there. So Nika, do you want to start again?
Closing statement. Vinyl is here to stay.
I like that.
Hopefully it's really not going anywhere. Now, the big challenge is going to be keeping people interested once every country opens up again. Yeah, keep the value going, keep the interest going. And I'm sorry, Michael, I don't think that we can get rid of the color versions. I'm afraid they're here to stay too.
I'll accept that. I'll take that. And Karen?
I was going to say long live vinyl. Yeah, it's definitely here to stay. Yeah, what else can I say? Absolutely love it. Be patient with us. And if anyone's got any spare capacity out there, I'll have anything you've got.
That's great. And Sven?
For me, it's a very complementary aspect of having vinyl, having CDs and other media all together. And in the end, it's all about entertaining people and consumers. And especially after the pandemic here and all these lockdown discussions globally, it's really good to now see in Europe, especially in Europe right now, this opening wave. I don't know how it's in the US, hopefully it's the same, but we see a lot of opening. And one of these opening waves goes to the Wembley Stadium in London right now in a few minutes. And so this is why we are all looking forward to putting out our tricots, our shirts, and then have for the teams and see what's happening on the soccer match tonight.
That sounds perfect, Sven. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, definitely. And Justin, I leave it with you.
I mean, I second vinyl's here to stay. I mean, it's going to continue to grow, and I don't see the other formats going away at all either. I mean, everyone thinks stuff keeps dying, and nothing's died yet. So yeah, just once again, people want stuff, and we will all continue to make stuff through all the struggles that we have been dealing with. But yeah, I think physical media is in a good spot.
That's terrific to hear. I just kind of want to adapt your statement of long live vinyl. Why don't we say long live physical media? Yeah.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, that's going to be our slogan. Long live physical media. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time. This was a great interactive session. We're planning to do more of these, so please stay in tune, audience and panelists also. If you would like to participate with us again, please feel free to contact us on any topic that may be at the tip of your tongue. I want to thank also for Bernard and Andre for helping me put this together today. And we look forward to staying in touch. And don't forget to take a look at the Media Tech website, as well as the Making Vinyl website for other sessions that we're going to be hosting in the near future. So good luck to everyone. Thank you. Take care. And again, long live physical media. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Bye-bye,
much.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.